So we're gonna do one more video, and because I got my eye caught this. I love talking about the way the brain works because my brain is clear because I don't have any out of integrities. I'm straight laced. I'm like Donald Trump's like me. JD Vance is like me. We're straight laced. So I'm of integral existing. And it's a long story of what integrity is, but your brain, you are clearly out of integrity with everything that you produce, including the fact if you call out integrity in a video, I share the video. I shared the video last night of what Mona Van and that doctor talked about. She talks about having integrity, but she doesn't understand integrity or know what integrity means because my content displays how out of integrity her entire existence is. And so she literally, in every picture she takes, she's suffering extremely terribly because she's a horrible person. And she's always looking for the next way to maliciously find ways to make money off of all of you, but nobody holds her accountable, even though everything is about intent. While Joe Biden brings her to the U.S. Capitol, and you're American and she's Persian, to talk about our laws and how she wants to help in any which way. And then she's inviting Ken Cook, a lobbyist, and showing up at Democrat events in New York City to expose who she actually is and how Obama has sold out the country, or attempted to the Middle East. Because they want to live the glam life of what the women of Qatar show you, but Americans don't want that. Only the most shallow, only the most horrific, only the ones who are the demonic demons but they are training other people to think that way. And that's the problem. Anyway, and Hillary Clinton's involved in that too. The brain craves variety. The brain doesn't pay attention to boring things. But boring is relative to what you think is boring and not boring. Not that Jobs was boring, far from it. However, to get to the iPhone, that was extremely boring to participate in. For most people. However, our brain craves variety. So then why, if we crave variety, are we being shadow banned into only thinking? Shadow banned is you're only in the shadow of your existence. You've been shadow banned into thinking you want to watch perversion of women. Shadow ban is also only putting specific people's content in your pathway, not just you being blocked from other people seeing your content. You don't actually know who's watching your content also because there's so much corruption. Meaning you could have a page of 500, but George Clooney's looking at your content and Alex Earl's watching it, and all the verified accounts are moving in and out of gossiping about you, but they don't tell you they're gossiping about you. But that's also called corruption. And that's unethical, it's illegal, and it's completely out of integrity. However, our brains crave variety. No one, no matter how smooth and polished, can carry an audience for long before his or her listeners start to glance at their watches. And that's definitely happening with all of your content. So what do they do to get more attention? Is they do more violent acts, more vicious acts. But they're going to start being the wolves as a wolf pack and start finding new prey to keep that buzz alive. That's why Kamala Harris kept bringing in celebrities, because they brought in a buzz that kept you interested, but she still lost the election. So that tells you about how Americans care about America. Great speech writers have known this for years. Speeches written for JFK and Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump were scripted to last no longer than 20 minutes. Except for Donald Trump. I actually left off the third person in this book because you have to be on the Democrat side, otherwise you get shadow banned. So Donald Trump can keep your attention for an hour. So what does that tell you about Donald Trump and why he's such a threat? Because he knows shit and he takes action, and he doesn't allow people to get away with what Barack Obama and John F. Kennedy were up to. Although look what happened to John F. Kennedy. That was a government clandestine operative move. I even have a book on it. A Jobs keynote presentation lasted much longer, of course, closer to an hour and a half. But Jobs kept it interesting by incorporating demonstrations, video clips, and very important guest speakers. And you know, sometimes Donald Trump did just straight 1 hour conversation with like one commercial. And that's how you know you love him and you like him and that you want him as your leader. So everything that these people are telling you, no matter who they are, you know you don't believe in that. But that's the game of Rosie O'Donnell. That's the game of The View, to get attention, to piss you off, so that they can stay relevant while they create gaslighting, abuse. This is abuse tactics. This is to keep unrest in the country so that Joy Behar and Hillary Clinton can stay relevant, while they fuel ignorant kids that they trained with Barack Obama on things that make no sense, that have nothing to do with them or anything. It only has to do with attention, not the actual concern. Meaning, Evan Green, they'll drop you in a heartbeat when the country turns. You're done. The country has turned behind the scenes, but in the public eye, it hasn't turned. But that's what his job is right now. And eventually he gets tired, and then eventually it gets too painful because people start getting really mad. And then they just drop off the face of the earth, and then he ends up to be just a statistic. And then his life is literally that fat guy in a trailer where he talks about the good old days and he can't even afford to get his teeth fixed. While he is back in male clothing. Because the people are not buying what you're selling. Do you know what you don't know? In October of 2008, Apple introduced the new MacBook laptops crafted for single blocks of aluminum. The design breakthrough allowed Apple to build mobile computers that were lighter and stronger than previous designs. People do not like the men acting lighter and like women. It's disgusting. We want men to be men. And these youth are not men, they are wimps. It's gross. And all these men on platform, all these LA men, it's like, grow some. I'm more manly than some of you. And I'm like seriously feminine. Let's talk about notebooks. We want to talk about some technologies and discoveries that were made that help us build notebooks in some new ways. Jobs said. However, instead of describing the new process himself, Jobs introduced Jony Ive, Apple's then Senior Vice President of Design. Ive walked on stage. Jobs took a seat and gave the audience a 6-minute crash course on the notebook design. He explained how the new process allowed Apple to start with a 2.5-pound slab of aluminum and carve it out until the final frame weighed just 1/4 pound. The result was a strong, thinner, and lighter computer. Jobs that would actually be what it would mean to be in politics if you actually would just sit down and be quiet and do your job. That would be the Democrats. They're always starting and instigating to make everything so challenging. And that's their life goal, is to be vicious and be abusive. And then call themselves good people. Jobs shared the spotlight with other actors who added credibility and excitement to the plot. 1/4 pound. The result was a stronger, thinner, and lighter computer. Jobs retook the stage and concluded the segment by thanking Ive and reaffirming the headline of the segment, "A new way to build notebooks."